Hey guys, a quick announcement before I begin the video. A lot of people have asked me for other options to financially support the channel. I guess because they don't want to give YouTube or Twitch a cut of the super chat or of the Twitch sub. So I've gone ahead and set up a few other options. If you check out the description of videos on my SFO channel or of the Game Boomers stream VODs over on the Game Boomer channel, you'll see something like this now. I've decided to update all of the links. And yes, you can always still sub at Twitch. You can always give it Subscribestar, Patreon, or PayPal. I put a Streamlabs link in there as well because people really wanted me to get Streamlabs, so there it is. One guy asked for Cash App, and I didn't do that, I guess because I'm too much of a boomer to figure it out. I tried. And there's a few other options down here that I can talk about as well. This is my Amazon affiliate link. If you click this, anything that you buy after you click that link in that window should give me, I think, a 5% cut. The price that you pay for goods on Amazon won't go up. Amazon will just give me a little bit of money. Some people, for some reason, have also wanted to outright buy me, like, stuff for the show. So I made a public Amazon Canada and Amazon US wish list. Now, the items on this list are actually pretty expensive because it's all show equipment. And I do not expect anyone to buy anything on this list, okay? A few people asked in DMs, like, hey, I want to buy you some equipment. And I'm like, dude, equipment's expensive to run shows like this. But they insisted. So I made a list of all the things that I don't necessarily need immediately, because if it's an immediate need, I just buy it myself. But stuff that could really help the show's quality if I were to get it. So everything on these lists, it's either products that I want to like use on Game Boomers or review on the dev kit, or sometimes both. It's like show equipment, computer equipment, stuff that I can use to increase the quality of all my shows. So there's computer equipment on there, there's some specialized equipment on there. I didn't put games on there, like games that I would like to stream on Game Boomers, because that's a bit too sellouty, I think, in my opinion. I don't want to just ask people for games. But stuff that I know that I will use to make the show better, I put on the list. And finally, there's also a Humble Bundle affiliate link there, because I've been a Humble Bundle partner for a while. When you click on that link, you get something like this. Thank you for supporting Short Fat Otaku. And then basically anything that you buy on the website in this window, you can choose to give me a cut of it. So let's say you wanted to buy, actually there's no really good bundles right now, is there? Let's say Double Fine, why not? You're going to get the bundle. Okay. What you can do is you can go to here, it says choose where your money goes. There's publishers, charities, a tipped Humble Bundle, and also me. And you can actually adjust these sliders to give me as much or as little of the cut, or anybody else of the cut as you like. So if you do buy games through Humble Bundle, that is a great way to also support the channel. And all those links will be in the description of all the videos going forward. And I also want to make it absolutely clear that there is no obligation to ever do any of this. No one has to buy me stuff, no one has to donate money, no one has to do anything. If you just want to watch the videos and enjoy them, I am very happy and very thankful that you're here. I put these options up not because I demand everyone simp for me or something, but simply because people have been asking for them. And to be honest, I could use the help. So if you want to financially support the channel, there are many ways to do so now. And if you just want to hang out, well then I am happy to have you here. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Kamala Harris, guys, because she was the VP pick for Joe Biden. I know everyone wanted like the Bernie Biden ticket, because that was kind of unrealistic though. People really thought it was going to be the Biden-Hillary ticket. That would have immediately torpedoed any chances of him winning. Though to be honest, with the way that the radical left is writing about police right now, choosing Kamala Harris has basically done that as well. Let's quickly go over Kamala Harris's record. In 2014, the LA Times published the article, "Federal Judges Order California to Expand Prison Releases." Federal judges on Friday ordered California to launch a new parole program that could free more prisoners early, ruling the state had failed to fully implement an order last February intended to reduce unconstitutional crowding. The judges, for a second time, ordered that all non-violent second-strike offenders be eligible for parole after serving half of their sentence. They told corrections officials to submit new plans for that parole process by December 1st. Most of those prisoners work as groundskeepers, janitors, and in prison kitchens, with wages that range from 8 cents to 37 cents per hour. Lawyers for the Attorney General, Kamala Harris, have argued in court that if forced to release these inmates, prisons would lose an important labor pool. I guess keeping non-violent criminals in prison even though they're eligible for parole in order to make them work in the old sweatshops is a priority for Kamala Harris. In 2010, The Guardian reported that Kamala Harris was behind a major push in San Francisco to lock up parents if their children skipped school.
So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it. And this is what we did. We recognized that in that initiative, as a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. The school district has got a carrot.
This article, published in the New York Times, titled "Kamala Harris Was Not a Progressive Prosecutor," outlines a number of significant events. Time after time, when progressives urged her to embrace criminal justice reforms as a district attorney and then the state's attorney general, Ms. Harris opposed them or stayed silent. Most troubling, Ms. Harris fought tooth and nail to uphold wrongful convictions that had been secured through official misconduct that included evidence tampering, false testimony, and the suppression of crucial information by prosecutors. Consider her record as San Francisco's district attorney from 2004 to 2011. Ms. Harris was criticized in 2010 for withholding information about a police laboratory technician who had been accused of intentionally sabotaging her work and stealing drugs from the lab. After a memo surfaced that Ms. Harris's deputies knew about the technician's wrongdoing and recent conviction, but failed to alert defense lawyers, a judge condemned Ms. Harris's indifference to the systemic violation of the defendant's constitutional rights. Ms. Harris lost that case, and more than 600 cases handled by the corrupt technician were dismissed. How many of those 600 were actually guilty and are now roaming the streets because of the corruption of Kamala Harris? She also championed state legislation under which parents whose children were found to be habitually truant in elementary school could be prosecuted, despite concerns that would disproportionately affect low-income people of color. That was the video that we just watched. In 2014, she declined to take a position on Proposition 47, a ballot initiative approved by voters that reduced certain low-level felonies to misdemeanors. She laughed that year when a reporter asked if she would support the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. In 2015, she opposed a bill requiring her office to investigate shootings involving officers, and she refused to support statewide standards regulating the use of body-worn cameras by police officers. Worst of all is her record in wrongful conviction cases. Consider George Gage, an electrician with no criminal record who was charged in 1999 with sexually abusing his stepdaughter, who reported the allegations years later. Afterward, the judge discovered that the prosecutor had unlawfully held back potentially exculpatory evidence, including medical reports indicating that the stepdaughter had been repeatedly untruthful with law enforcement. Her mother even described her as a pathological liar. In 2015, when the case reached the United States Court of Appeals, Ms. Harris's prosecutors defended the conviction. They pointed out that Mr. Gage, while forced to act as his own lawyer, had not properly raised the legal issue in the lower court. The judges acknowledged this impediment and sent the case to mediation, a clear signal for Ms. Harris to dismiss the case. When she refused to budge, the court upheld the conviction on that technicality. Mr. Gage is still in prison serving a 70-year sentence. This case is not an outlier. Ms. Harris also fought to keep Daniel Larson in prison on a 28-year-to-life sentence for his possession of a concealed weapon, even though his trial lawyer was incompetent and there was compelling evidence of his innocence. Relying on a technicality again, Ms. Harris argued that Mr. Larson failed to raise his legal arguments in a timely fashion. This time she lost. She defended Johnny Baca's conviction for murder, even though judges found that a prosecutor presented false testimony at the trial. She relented only after a video of the oral argument received national attention and embarrassed her office. And then there's Kevin Cooper, the death row inmate whose trial was infected by racism and corruption. He sought advanced DNA testing to prove his innocence, but Ms. Harris opposed it. After the New York Times' expose of the case went viral, she reversed her position. In Kamala Harris's memoir, she writes that America has a deep and dark history of people using the power of the prosecutor as an instrument of injustice. I know this history well, of innocent men framed, of charges brought against people without sufficient evidence, of prosecutors hiding information that would exonerate defendants, of the disproportionate application of the law. All too often, she was on the wrong side of that history. And of course, Vice had no problem reporting on this back on October 10th, 2019.
Never in a million years I would have thought that they were going to charge me for Sell's murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged?
Arrested and charged, that's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed up at the two most pivotal times in this first trial and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like.
In this article from the Monterey Herald, an article now only available on the Internet Wayback Machine, Kamala Harris backs asset seizure before criminal charges. Civil asset forfeiture allows police to seize money and property under a simple suspicion of that money and property being used for criminal activity, even if there are no criminal charges. This law has allowed the police to steal from innocent people, and entire PD budgets have been funded with the seized property. Even though the law is very unpopular and arguably unconstitutional, Kamala Harris has made a career of publicly supporting it. She sponsored a bill to allow a seizure of profits without charges, and as this article states, in 2011 she opposed a bill that would have reformed the procedure. Thankfully, there was at least one person on one of the Democratic debate stages willing to stand up to Kamala Harris and tell her exactly what she was to her face.
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Oh, Tulsi, you're too good for the DNC. But all this criticism is just racist. It's just racist. She's female, she's black, she's an Asian American. That's all you need to know, right? Well, I mean, her dad's Jamaican, her mom's from India. I always thought, Indian and Asian as being two separate things, even though they are both technically from the continent of Asia. But I guess she's Asian American in the same way that someone from India is Asian American. Okay, fine. Her dad's Jamaican, and there's probably at least a little bit of black ancestry there, because a lot of Jamaicans are a mixture of native Jamaicans and African slaves brought over, so I guess she's kinda black? I guess being dark-skinned is enough to qualify for Dem reparations. Unless, of course, you're family-owned slaves, Kamala. Kamala Harris's father drops another big bombshell about her family history. Forget marijuana, this is big. My roots go back within my lifetime to my paternal grandmother, Miss Crishy, a descendant of Hamilton Brown, who was on record as a plantation and slave owner and the founder of Brownstown. Interestingly enough, Senator Harris favors paying reparation to American blacks who have been impacted by slavery and discrimination. Well, how much are you gonna have to pay out, Kamala? I think that the whole reparation stuff is nonsense, but if that is the rulebook that the left insists on playing by, Kamala's gotta pay up. I have the great honor to announce that I've picked Kamala Harris, a fearless fighter for the little guy, and one of the country's finest public servants, as my running mate. Oh, really, Joe? Are you sure about that? What about that time when she called you a racist to your face?
It's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true.
What about that time when she said that she believes those people who accused you of sexual assault? Hell, what about that time when she appeared on TV looking like a space alien? Holy shit, Kamala, you're supposed to let the Botox settle in a little bit before you start doing stuff. Damn, maybe there actually are reptilian shapeshifters. But now that Kamala has been ordained, everyone's being told to get in line. Even Bernie, who immediately did so, obviously. I was actually a Bernie bro back in 2016. The minute that I saw him cuck out to Hillary, hell, the minute that I saw him cuck out to those Black Lives Matter activists who stormed the stage, that was when I basically realized the man doesn't have a spine. And here he is telling the communist left to shut the fuck up and get in line. The progressives have always been a useful tool to the Democrats. And of course, we all know that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. Even Biden knows it. I've decided that Kamala Harris is the best person to help me take this fight to Donald Trump and Mike Pence, and then to lead this nation starting in January 2021. Biden, you're supposed to be leading. Biden. It's not supposed to be her. It's supposed to be you. Joe Biden made the pick that maximized his chances of continuing to make the race a straight referendum on Trump, while also selecting somebody whose resume suggests being ready to step in if and when Biden decides to step aside. The media's role in this is to prepare the people for a Kamala Harris presidency. They're already starting the preconditioning to get you to accept it when it happens. Listen, I know Trump's not perfect. I have disagreed with him a fair amount myself, but if I were an American, I'd be voting Trump. This is an absolute shit show. Kamala Harris is a disgrace. Joe Biden's a disgrace. They both have long-standing tough-on-crime records, and they're currently trying to court a crowd of people who think that all cops are bastards and want the complete defunding and abolition of the police. This is not going to go well for them, and I'm pretty sure that with this pick, Trump has got 2020 in the bag.